All right. So here we are. So who are you? Who do you work for? Why do you use Volt Fire?
So yeah, my name is Hugo. I'm a product manager at Inato. We are a platform where we help sites get selected for trials. We work with sponsors in the industry. What we offer to sites is the ability to plug their patient database and showcase their patient access to a sponsor to get selected. That's the first step. And then fast forward into the trial, we help them identify the most relevant patients, identify their best patients against all the inclusion and exclusion criteria of a trial. So in a sense, it's a way for the sites to reduce their screen failure rate and get successful with their trials. In the end, what matters is that we are able to enroll more patients with less efforts from the sites.
And to do that, you need data. You chose you're using Bolt Fire at least in some capacity. So why Bolt Fire?
So FHIR allows us to have access to all the patient database of the PI. It's a great way for us to identify for a disease area, for a specific trial, who are the best candidates. And even for the sites themselves, they often don't know very well how wide and how to say, refined their patients are for a specific trial. So this is where FHIR is useful because we have access to the patient data. We can identify the most relevant one. It gets updated whenever new patients come to a site. The data is refreshed with new medical records. And so this is where this is super useful because we're able to identify the best patients using all the FHIR data. We use mostly the patient conditions and encounters resources. And then for the candidates that we have identified, we are able to pull the medical records and then run a more thorough AI assessment on these. And in the end, what do they have? The PI have a very detailed eligibility report for a patient, and they are able to review each of the inclusion exclusion criteria and identify why does this patient qualify for the trial. What we do is that we surface all the quotes in the medical records that prove that the patient is eligible for a trial, and the PI in the end is the one in control. They can review it and take the final decision for a patient.
And so Bolt Fire is great for this use case. It sounds like hunky dory, standards. It just must be smooth sailing. Is that right?
Yeah, it's right. It's I think the main it allows to have a whole overview. Like we can really do what we wouldn't be able to do one by one. We can do it in bulk, and also we are able to leverage all the data that was entered by the clinicians and the PIs in their systems, and that's what's really important.
So have you encountered any blockers? Have there been any challenges to
We
scaling
we
this?
do. One of the main challenge I would say is that vendors don't have the same tech maturity, I would say. A lot of them will say that they support Buildfire, that they are ONC certified. But then when you get into real life, you often have a very limited tech support, a very scarce backend interface. Sometimes for each of the sites you're working with, you need a human support from the vendor. And this is where working with different vendors can be the experiences aren't equal. Like some are really almost blocking the integration because they aren't answering, they aren't providing documentation, and they won't provide support or guidance.
If you could have one change, if the government or regulators could make one change to Bolt Fire, what would it be?
I think having a standardized interface to manage your integration at the vendors should be like the minimum. You shouldn't have to rely on some old email chains, pinging people, opening tickets, and actually like the best players in the industry. This is what they have. They have like a self-service interface with a really clean documentation. And when you follow it step by step, it works. There aren't some unexpected errors. This is what we should aim as an
Any praise you want to give out to any vendors or anyone in the Bulk Fire server community?
Yeah, I think Athena Health did a really great job in their integration. They were uh, the first we worked with, and because of the ease of the integration, it's a really a great interface. It's easy to set up and to manage your integrations. Yeah, these are great.
Any last thoughts that you want to share about Bulk Fire or whole fire community?
I think we have to be to keep going because there is still a gap between what is expected and promised and the reality. So we should keep on pushing forward, making all these little differences between implementation. We should work on having everything normalized. And yeah, if there was like a standard way to kind of operate this integration, it would be great. I think this is what would be the best thing. I won't get into the details of all the data points in the FHIR, bulk FHIR, like, because for each resources you have different behaviors. It's not equal for each EHR. Um, will this will get too much into the details, but I think the fact that there are some unexpected behaviors. For example, we had a vendors, one of our site just did a migration and they had no encounters, because when you have encounters, it triggers some automations on the vendor side. And so basically they migrated all their patient database, but didn't have any encounter. So it's like having a patient database without all the key information on when was the patient data refreshed, when was it used last time. So it was kind of a weird situation when we had to guess a bit from what the site shared with us. Another one was like they shared their patient resource, but all the encounters and conditions were empty. We didn't really know why, but that was the case. So yeah, I think
Infinite fun across these vendors is what we're
exactly.
finding.
You have to keep an eye open on each of the different vendors, each of the sites situation, if they've done a migration, if they have specific workflows in their company. So yeah, that's something we have to keep an eye on, and that's where the standard can help. If we have common practices, this is where this can really level up the game.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and sharing not just with me, but with the Fire Dev Days community. I'll make sure to share your information so that anyone that wants to reach out and learn more about Inato can. So thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you, Brandon.